Well, good morning, everybody. Kim Winter from Logistics Executive Group. And this morning we have a very special guest in Australia. We're going to be reviewing her book, which has just been published, I believe. I think this might have come out in the last few days or so. And the book is called Helping Business Use Inclusion as a Competitive Edge, Inclusive Teams and Workplaces. And I'm very pleased to be joined by a colleague from Sydney, Gloria Tabi. Hey, Gloria, how's it going?
Oh, hello, Kim. Thank you for having me on Logistics Executive TV.
Yeah, great to have you. Thanks for taking some time, and we've got your book that's just been published, and I'd love to hear about that. I'm sure our audience would as well. But before we do that, as always, we love to have our guests give us a bit of a rundown on your background, your upbringing, where you were born, how you got to where you are, and then we'll talk about the book. So, yeah, where did it all start for Gloria?
Sure. Thank you so much, like I said, to be here. What a great opportunity. I do like to acknowledge the Australian First Nations people, the traditional owners of this land of Australia upon which I live. I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I do this cultural acknowledgement because I believe the first Australian people are the sovereign owners and custodians of this land, beautiful Australia. And you have said that you've lived here before. It is a great nation and it's really important. It's because of them we all get to live in this beautiful region.
Thanks.
I was born in Ghana, West Africa. I was talking to you earlier. And as many people know, African countries are poor. And the reasons that we are poor is a conversation we can have another time. But as a youngster, my parents always instill in us the importance of education, because they saw that education was a way in which we can come out of poverty and do something for ourselves. And so I took that seriously and migrated to Australia after completing my high school certificate. We call it equivalent to a year 12 education in Sydney. I came here to undertake university degree in order to help me, I guess, better myself and do something with myself. And surely after completing my degree, I wanted to do something for the community. I completed a Bachelor of Science in Environmental Management, so caring about nature and the environment, and I still do. But I also wanted to do something for the community, the society I live in. And I work with young people at the age of 18 to 25 who were at the brink of unemployment, on the brink of long-term unemployment. And so the work I did with the Australian Employment Service was to support these youngsters in mentorship, in employment, and training and get back on their feet into employment. And they were in that situation due to drugs, homelessness, and a whole host of reasons, which I didn't quite understand, because growing up in Africa, we thought that if you're born in the West, you're well educated and you can do something with your life. And so I was faced with that challenge of seeing people born here, mostly white youngsters who were homeless. And that was really shocking to me.
Okay.
And
Well, fantastic. And I first came across you when on LinkedIn, not surprisingly, and your very unique style of delivery and presentations and discussions that you hold on LinkedIn. And traditionally, you're running through some fantastic bushland with your dog, which looks like maybe a border collie or whatever it might be. But
yes, it is actually.
Okay, good guess. I'm not a dog man, but hey, and well done for that, because it attracts attention. One of the things online is to attract attention as something unique, and you're certainly unique in your delivery. So that's great. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of misconceptions about poverty and education. As you know, I'm involved with Oasis Africa and Kenya on the other side of Africa from Ghana, where we've educated over 8,000 kids in the slums of Nairobi. Freedom from poverty through education. And this is clearly something that we have an affiliation with. So Gloria, you came to Australia. You've been working with underprivileged or troubled youth, and congratulations for your commitment in that area, especially coming from where you've come from. And let's talk about the book. Where'd the inspiration for the book come? What's the elements of the book? And was it just recently published? I think it might have just come out, yeah?
Yes, it has recently published.
Let's have a look.
And this is years of working in the employment services, the Australian employment services. I'm also a researcher in race and racism.
Yeah.
And we know in 2020, the catalyst of the killing of George Floyd, a Black man on the street of America, kind of shook the whole world. And so I started a podcast actually called Voice Everyday Racism, where people will come and tell us about experiences of racism they were going through in the workplace. But then I also realized most of the victims were gagged to tell their own stories because of societal structural racism stopped them speaking about these experiences. And as a researcher, I like to solve problems. So, and also helping people. And so that's how everyday inclusion, my business came about, because I figured I've got people that are struggling in the workplace. We also have, on the other hand, employers who traditionally, not all of them, but mostly don't understand the struggles that people of color, Black people, come to workplaces with this kind of issues. So combining those came about the book, so that I can create a tool that support employers to understand some of the issues that we come into workplace because of historical structural oppression and racism, and to really guide them and bridge the gap in assisting and bringing about inclusion into the workplace. So that's how the book came about.
Great. And Gloria, is the book designed primarily for employers, or is it also designed to assist and give guidance and direction to people who are the victims of systemic racism or, lack of inclusion in the workplace?
That's exactly right. It's actually created to help leaders of all sectors, CEOs, company executives, to help create a culture of inclusion that supports everyone, so that their team can thrive and succeed. Because the other side of inclusion is exclusion. And that's what we are trying to bridge and really pay attention to. I mean, there's a whole host of environments happening at the moment around the world. We know about the great resignation at the moment. People are saying we don't feel included, and we can't achieve our best because you haven't created the work environment for us to do that. And so we might as well leave. And so that's what the book is to help bridge that gap.
Well, Gloria, we always have tagged, and people can see below this podcast, they can see the details of where they can go to buy the book. I presume, what is it, Amazon, or have you got your own site?
Yes, we have got our own site if you live in Australia region, but around the world is also on Amazon. So definitely just by typing my name, for example, the book will come up with a link to buy. Very, very easy.
So that's Gloria Tabi, Gloriatabi. Gloria, thanks so much for sharing that. And we certainly, I haven't read the book yet, and I fully intend to. So I'll be getting that online, and I'll make sure that we keep an eye on how things are going with you. I presume you've also promoting the book through speaking. I know you're a speaker, and you're somebody who's out and amongst the community and the business environment, talking about the issues and giving more voice to the issues of systemic racism. Australia, of course, no better off than any other country in its history in terms of systemic racism. Not as often as heard about as much as the places like the US, but it's there. And
it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more we talk about things, by far, the more voice that issues like this get, then the better it is, because we can make resolution and move forward wherever we find it. Hey, Gloria, great to talk to you. With our guests, I always like to round up by getting a little bit of input, maybe a tip from you in regards to, let's pick something right on the head and say, look, if somebody is experiencing considerable systemic racism or a lack of inclusion in their workplace, what should they do in terms of approaching leaders or approaching somebody to really bring this issue up? Bearing in mind what you said earlier, that a lot of people are afraid to actually bring up the issue that they're being excluded, or that there's racial bias, or they're experiencing racial systemic racism in the workplace. How should they go about approaching? What's your recommendation for approaching leadership this issue?
Yeah, it's a tricky one and a really important question. I myself have been through that same situation that you've just described, and going out to places like HR, human resources department to report is not always the right idea, because there can actually be a backlash of talking about it. So firstly, what I would say is make sure you have got support system outside of the work. Unfortunately, that's really important for your well-being. And this is what we are trying to cultivate with businesses, because businesses actually, from research that I have done, don't have the ways of dealing with systemic racism. Yep. And by bringing it up can actually cause the employee more harm than good. And so depending on the work environment, bringing it up at work is not always a good idea, unfortunately, Kim. So this is what I'm saying. Find someone outside of work who can support you. And, eventually, your supervisor is usually the first place that you go to, but they might not have the skills to support you. So on our website, we've got things like understanding racism, understanding the specificity of what racism is, because racism is so misunderstood, Kim. It's not funny. It's not about something that you and I do. Racism is built into system, and the system is what creates the disadvantaged outcomes for people like me in the workplace. So understanding the basis of racism is how we can change systems to support people.
So well said, and it resonates very clearly with me, being in the global executive search and consulting business over the last 25 or so years. There's no question that systemic racism is deeply embedded right across the entire, not only HR, but certainly executive search and recruitment as well. So there is not a company I can think of that in my industry and our sectors that couldn't do with taking a good, hard, long look at itself and evaluate what systemic racism or lack of inclusion takes place within the operations of those businesses. And that's globally, it's worldwide. It's starting in Australia and working outwards. Hey, Gloria.
Can I?
Yeah.
I was going to say that I don't want to end up in morbid, negative ending. Yeah. There are organizations around the world that are doing the right thing and speaking up sort of walking the talk. And so, we all know about Ben and Jerry, who globally talk about their stance against systemic oppression. And that is actually, this is what I talk in the book, it creates a competitive advantage for you as a brand when you take a stand on those issues, because people are not leaving social issues outside the bounds of organizations anymore. Social issues are now coming inside the organization because of media and social media. And so things that we used to close the door and say, well, we can't talk about those things in business. We can't do that anymore. And it's for our own advantage in organizations to really understand what inclusion is and start embedding that into your systems.
That's so right, Gloria, and I can attest for sure that having a healthy approach to diversity and inclusion and understanding of racial issues in organisations is a major upside for candidates who, it's a candidate short world, certainly in logistics and supply chain, but globally as a result of COVID. It's a higher demand world than supply at the moment in terms of labour and technical labour and skilled labour in particular. And, people are looking for a fair, equitable and a complete sort of culture in a business. So inclusion and diversity and racial equity is so important for organisations to have that balance and to attract the right sort of talent. And I think they're here to stay.
Yeah. They're here to stay. They are now the deal. That's people are asking for that. Research recently, which I think it was Fortune, asked 1,000 employees, and 89% said they will want to work in an organization that is a safe work environment. You can't achieve safe work environment without inclusion, and is part of the deal.
Or I can back that up, and people that follow us on LinkedIn know that we do polls regularly. One of the most recent polls, we put 4 different options of why people would join companies, whether it's for money or for convenience and one thing and another. And by far, at the top, I think there was a 60% rating, higher than anything else, was company culture. Culture. So important to people. It was by far the lead reason why people join companies. So there we have it, folks. The data doesn't lie. Gloria, so good to meet you. Love watching you on LinkedIn. Keep running the dog and keep us entertained as well with your discussions when you're out in the Australian bush. And really look forward to seeing how the book's going, folks. Don't muck around. Buy the book. Understand what the issues are. Every workplace needs to have a greater understanding, no matter where they are on the Richter scale, of issues of systemic racism and inclusion as well. And by all means, let's see how things go, Gloria. And I know you're a very giving person, so if anybody's got any questions about the subject matter of the book or about the issues that they're experiencing at work, I know you'll be more than happy for people to contact you on the email address, which is below, and give them some advice and consult to them if necessary.
Beautiful. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit, and yes, definitely my email is actually at the back of the book as well. So there's plenty of places to find me.
Good on you. Thanks so much, Gloria, and we look forward to catching up with you again.
Beautiful, Kim. Thanks so much for the opportunity. Take care. See ya.
My pleasure.